The wind from the north carries the distinct biting scent of coming snow, a sharp warning that the brief window of the Pleistocene autumn is closing. The landscape, a sprawling mosaic of dry riverbeds and exposed limestone cliffs, lies naked under the pale, indifferent sun. This is a world defined by its harsh geology, where the bones of the earth stick out through the thin skin of the soil. For the band of Homo erectus navigating this terrain, the coming winter poses a lethal thermodynamic problem. They are warm-blooded engines in a cooling world, and to keep their internal fires burning, they require fuel. That fuel walks the tundra in the form of massive, thick-skinned calorie fortresses, the mammoths. But the humans are biologically ill-equipped to access it. They have no claws to rend, no fangs to tear. They are soft, blunt creatures, standing on the edge of starvation. To survive the season of ice, they must borrow the strength of the earth itself. They have come to this dried river channel not to drink, for the water has long since retreated underground, but to harvest. This is the quarry, the silent library of the planet's history. Millions of stones lie scattered across the river bottom, tumbled smooth by eons of water flow baking in the cold light. To the untrained eye, this is merely rubble, a chaotic mess of grey and brown. But to the eyes of the master napper, the engineer of the tribe, this is an armory. He walks slowly, his head bowed, scanning the ground with a predator's focus. He is not looking for food. He is looking for the thing that will get the food. He is hunting for the perfect stone. The selection process is an intellectual gauntlet that separates the human mind from the rest of the animal kingdom. Most stones here are useless, sedimentary limestone that crumbles like chalk or coarse sandstone that turns to dust upon impact. To make a tool that can disassemble a 5-ton pachyderm, the material must possess specific physical properties. It must be rich in silica, a glass-like mineral that does not break randomly but fractures in predictable, controllable waves. It must be hard enough to hold an edge sharper than a surgeon's scalpel, yet elastic enough to withstand the shock of impact without shattering. The napper is looking for the holy trinity of the Paleolithic flint, obsidian, or quartzite. He pauses at a pile of grey nodules, half buried in the dry silt. These are flint nodules, formed millions of years ago in the depths of ancient oceans from the skeletons of microscopic sponges. They look unpromising on the outside, covered in a rough, chalky rind known as the cortex. This outer skin is a disguise hiding the dark, homogeneous glass within. The napper picks one up, weighing it in his hand. Density is the first test. It must feel heavy for its size, a solid, compact mass devoid of air pockets or internal voids. A light stone is a porous stone, and a porous stone is a failure waiting to happen. He turns it over, feeling the texture, looking for the telltale smoothness that hints at a high silica content. But weight alone is not enough. The stone must speak. The napper picks up a smaller, harder rock, a hammerstone, and strikes the nodule with a sharp, glancing blow. Clink. The sound is high-pitched, clear and resonant, ringing like a bell in the crisp air. This is the voice of good stone. It signals that the internal structure is continuous, a solid lattice of molecules, with no invisible fractures to dampen the vibration. If the sound had been a dull, flat thud, he would have discarded it immediately. A dull sound means hidden cracks, faults caused by frost or tectonic stress. A cracked stone will betray the maker, shattering in his hands when he applies force, wasting precious energy and time. He moves on, discarding the first nodule because of an awkward protrusion that would make the initial shaping difficult. He is searching for geometry as much as material. The ideal core should be roughly the size of a human head, with at least one flat surface that can serve as a striking platform. The physics of lithic reduction require a specific angle of attack. If the stone is too round, the hammer will glance off. If it is too irregular, the force will dissipate unpredictably. He is visualizing the future reduction sequence, playing a game of three-dimensional chess with the rock before he even strikes the first blow. He needs a shape that accepts his will. Further up the riverbed, he spots a gleam of black among the grey gravel. It is obsidian volcanic glass, the sharpest substance on Earth. It was born in the fire of a volcano cooled so rapidly that no crystals could form, resulting in a perfectly amorphous structure. An edge created from this material can be 1 molecule thick, sharp enough to cut between cells. But obsidian is rare here, a traveler from distant mountains carried by ancient floods. He picks up the fist-sized chunk. It is too small for a heavy chopper, but perfect for small, lethal scrapers. He pockets it in a fold of animal skin. It is a treasure, but it is not the heavy artillery he needs for a mammoth. His eyes return to the search for the heavy-duty material quartzite. This is a metamorphic rock sandstone that has been tortured by heat and pressure until the sand grains fused into a solid, interlocking mass. It is stubborn, difficult to work and unforgiving, but it is incredibly durable. A tool made of quartzite will keep its edge even when hacking through the thick, dirty hide of a mega herbivore. He finds a large honey-colored cobble, smooth and heavy. He strikes it. The sound is good. He examines the surface for frost-wedging, tiny hairline fractures created by freezing water. The surface is clean. This stone is a survivor. It has withstood the elements for epochs, waiting for this moment. The relationship between the man and the stone is not one of dominance, but of partnership. He cannot force the stone to be what it is not. He must read the grain of the rock, respecting the laws of fracture mechanics. Every stone has a direction of least resistance, a path that the energy wants to travel. The Nappa's skill lies in aligning his blow with this invisible path. He stands there, holding the heavy quartzite cobble, feeling the cold seep into his fingers. He is holding a potential energy that exceeds the caloric value of his own body. Inside this dull rock lies a blade that can dress a carcass effectively enough to feed the tribe for a week. It is a locked vault of survival. He scours the area for more, building a stockpile. The tribe cannot afford to rely on a single core. Lithic manufacture is a risky business. Even the best stone can have a hidden flaw that reveals itself only at the final stage of reduction. He needs insurance. He gathers 3 more large nodules of high-quality flint, their cortex white and dusty, their shapes promising. He piles them together, a hoard of raw potential. To a modern observer, it looks like a pile of rocks. To him, it is a pile of unmade knives, sleeping axes and dormant scrapers. It is wealth. The sun begins to dip lower, casting long shadows across the riverbed, highlighting the textures of the ground. The cold intensifies, a reminder of the deadline. The mammoth herd is moving south, and the humans must intercept them. They cannot bring the quarry to the kill site. They must transform the heavy raw material into portable, efficient tools. The weight of the stones is a burden. A large nodule might weigh 10 kilograms, mostly waste material. He must reduce this mass, stripping away the useless outer layers to reveal the tool inside. The quarry is not just a shop, it is the first stage of the factory. He selects the best of the quartzite cobbles, the chosen one. It is heavy, oval-shaped, and sings with a clear high pitch when tapped. It feels dense, cold, and indifferent. It does not care about the hunger of the tribe. It does not care about the mammoth. It is simply matter obeying the laws of physics. But in the hands of the hominid, it is about to transcend its geological destiny. It will cease to be a part of the landscape and become an extension of the human will. It is about to undergo a metamorphosis driven by percussive force. The Nappa signals to the others. They gather the selected stones, hoisting the heavy loads onto their shoulders or carrying them in slings made of hide. They move away from the exposed riverbed, heading toward a sheltered alcove against the cliff face, the workshop. Here, out of the biting wind, they will perform the violent surgery required to birth the tools. The silence of the geology is left behind. The search is over. The materials have been acquired. Now the physics of fracture must be applied. As they walk, the Nappa runs his thumb over the rough surface of the quartzite. He can already see the hand axe hidden inside, trapped under the layers of time. He knows exactly where he will strike the first blow. He knows how the flake will fly. He knows the sound it will make. The anticipation is a physical sensation, a tightening of the muscles. He is not just a scavenger anymore. He is a manufacturer. He is about to engage in the act that defines his species, taking the raw stuff of the universe and reshaping it to fit his needs. The riverbed settles back into silence, the disturbed gravel the only sign that the architects have been there. The wind howls through the canyon, carrying the snow that will soon bury the quarry. But the humans have what they need. They have stolen the teeth of the earth. The silent geology has delivered its payload. The stage is set for the transformation. The stones are ready to be broken so that the humans may remain whole. The workshop is a small semicircular depression shielded by a limestone overhang, a natural amphitheater for the performance of technology. The ground here is already littered with the sharp, jagged debris of previous manufacturing sessions, a carpet of debitage that crunches underfoot like broken glass. This is the factory floor of the Pleistocene. The napper sits cross-legged, a posture of grounded stability, placing a thick pad of leather over his left thigh to protect the femoral artery from the razor-sharp waste that is about to fly. He holds the heavy quartzite core in his left hand, feeling its center of gravity, while his right hand grips the hammerstone, a round, dense river cobble specifically chosen for its hardness. The process begins with the preparation of a striking platform. The napper cannot simply bash the stone at random. He must find or create a flat surface that sits at an acute angle, ideally less than 90 degrees relative to the side he intends to flake. He turns the core over and over, his mind calculating the geometry of the impact. He is looking for the ridge, the high point that guides the shockwave. The physics here are unforgiving. Strike too high, and the edge crushes into useless dust. Strike too far back, and the energy dissipates, failing to detach the flake. He tilts the core, exposing the vulnerable shoulder of the rock. He raises the hammerstone, his muscles coiling. The strike is not a bash. It is a controlled throw of kinetic energy, a whip-like motion that accelerates the hammer right up to the point of contact. Crack. The sound is sharp and percussive, a gunshot in the silence of the canyon. The hammerstone strikes the edge of the platform with precise violence. The energy transfers instantly from the hammer to the core, creating a Hertzian cone of force that propagates through the molecular lattice of the quartzite. The stone does not tear. It fails under tension. A large, curved flake, the primary flake, detaches from the underside of the core, spinning away to land in the dirt. Its outer surface is covered in the rough, chalky cortex, but its inner surface is smooth and rippled. This is the signature of the conchoidal fracture, the shell-like break pattern that defines silica-rich minerals. The shockwave travels through the stone like a ripple through water, leaving behind undulations on the fracture surface. The napper inspects the negative scar left on the core. It is a clean, concave scoop. The geology has yielded to the physics. The air begins to smell of sulfur and burning rock, the gunpowder scent of struck flint and quartzite. Sparks fly with every blow, tiny fragments of superheated mineral that wink out before they hit the ground. The rhythm of the work accelerates. Strike, turn, assess, strike. The napper is peeling the stone like a fruit, removing the useless outer rind to reveal the high-quality material within. He works around the perimeter of the stone, removing flakes in a sequence that maintains the symmetry of the piece. He is establishing the bifacial edge, flaking from both sides to create a sharp, sinuous line that runs around the tool. This is a high-stakes gamble with every blow. The core is under immense stress. If the napper strikes with too much force, or at the wrong angle, the shockwave can dive deep into the body of the stone, causing a hinge fracture, a rounded, unsharpenable break that ruins the edge. Worse, the entire core could shatter into useless rubble, destroying hours of search and labor in a millisecond. The napper feels the vibration of each hit in his own bones. He is constantly adjusting the angle of his wrist, modulating the force, listening to the pitch of the ring. The debris pile grows around him, a hazardous collection of razor-sharp waste. These waste flakes are sharper than the scalpels of modern surgery, capable of slicing through skin and tendon with zero friction. The napper's hands are scarred, a map of past mistakes covered in calluses that act as natural leather gloves. He pauses to wipe the dust from his eyes. The silica dust is a slow poison for the lungs, but the immediate danger is the flying shrapnel. He squints, protecting his vision, the most valuable tool he possesses besides the stone itself. He flips the core. The chaotic rounded cobble he started with has vanished. In its place, a crude, heavy shape is emerging, a roughout. It is lenticular in cross-section, shaped like a large, jagged almond. It is still thick and clumsy, weighing perhaps 2 kilograms, too heavy for delicate work, but perfect for the initial heavy butchery. The edges are zigzagged and aggressive, formed by the intersection of deep flake scars. This is the hard hammer stage complete. He has imposed a geometric order onto a random lump of earth, but the tool is not yet ready. The edges are too steep, the center is too thick, a hump of material that resists removal, and the balance is off. The hard hammerstone is too blunt an instrument for the next phase. It delivers too much shock, risking the integrity of the thinning blade. The napper sets down the round riverstone. He reaches for a different tool lying in the dirt, a section of antler from a giant deer or the heavy leg bone of a horse. The violence of the stone-on-stone collision must now give way to the nuanced pressure of the soft hammer. He holds the rough out up to the dying light, checking the symmetry. He runs his thumb carefully along the jagged edge, feeling the bite of the silica. It is already a weapon. It is already a wedge that can separate meat from bone. But to dismantle a mammoth, to slice through inches of tough hide and disarticulate massive joints, he needs more than just a sharp rock. He needs a precision instrument. He needs the hand axe. The physics of fracture have done the heavy lifting. Now the art of refinement begins. The napper shifts his posture, settling into a position of intense microscopic focus. The heavy percussive rhythm of the hard hammer is over. The violent removal of mass has served its purpose. Now the process enters the realm of surgical precision. He picks up the billet, a heavy section of antler from a giant deer, dense and slightly spongy at the core. This is the soft hammer. Unlike the river stone, which delivers a concentrated point of shock that shatters the antler, is organic and elastic. It bites into the edge of the quartzite for a fraction of a millisecond before releasing, spreading the force out. This diffusion allows the napper to peel off long, thin flakes that travel halfway across the face of the tool, thinning the center without narrowing the width. He prepares the edge for the strike, a counterintuitive process known as platform preparation. Using a coarse piece of sandstone, he grinds the sharp edge of the rough out, dulling it deliberately. A sharp edge is brittle. If he were to strike it now, it would crush into dust, absorbing the energy and ruining the flake. By grinding it, he creates a sturdy, strengthened platform that can withstand the blow of the antler. The sound of the grinding scrub, scrub, scrub is a gritty whisper in the workshop. It is a testament to the hominid's foresight. He sacrifices the immediate sharpness for the structural integrity required to build a better blade. The strike with the soft hammer is a swooping elliptical motion. Thwack. The sound is duller, softer than the stone-on-stone crack. A flake, thin as a leaf and curved like a contact lens, flies off the underside. It leaves behind a shallow, spreading scar that smooths out the deep, jagged ravines left by the hard hammer. The napper works his way down the lateral edge, turning the biface over and over. He is thinning the hump in the middle, transforming the clumsy chunk of rock into a streamlined aerodynamic form. The tool is becoming biconvex, like a lentil, a shape that minimizes friction when cutting through deep muscle tissue. This stage requires a cognitive leap that separates the genus Homo from the apes. The napper is not just reacting to the stone. He is imposing an abstract concept of symmetry onto it. He holds the image of the perfect teardrop shape in his mind's eye, a template of geometric perfection, and subtracts everything that does not fit that image. If one side is too convex, he strikes it. If the tip is drifting off center, he corrects it. He is struggling against the chaos of the material to reveal the order within. This obsession with symmetry goes beyond pure function. It is the first stirrings of an aesthetic sense, the birth of the idea that a tool should be beautiful as well as deadly. As the hand axe nears its final shape, the napper switches tools once more. He sets aside the heavy antler billet and picks up a pressure flaker, a short pointed tine of bone or the tip of an antler. He is no longer striking. He places the tool on his leather-clad thigh, positioning the bone tip on the very edge of the stone. Leaning his entire body weight into the motion, he presses down and outward. The pressure builds until the silica lattice can no longer resist. Snap! A tiny, translucent scale of stone pops off. This is pressure flaking, the highest definition of lithic technology. He works his way around the entire perimeter of the tool, removing these microscopic flakes. This process aligns the edge, turning the wavy, jagged line into a straight, continuous razor. It also creates a serrated effect at the microscopic level, hundreds of tiny teeth that act like a saw. A straight edge cuts, but a serrated edge tears. When applied to the fibrous muscle of a mammoth, these micro-serrations will catch and slice, turning a pulling motion into a devastating laceration. The edge is now so sharp that it is translucent, glowing faintly where the light passes through the thin crystal structure. The danger of the work increases as the tool becomes finer. The waste flakes from pressure flaking are like glass dust, invisible and insidious. They settle on the napper's skin, waiting to embed themselves. A sudden slip of the pressure flaker sends a shard flying into the air. It slices across the napper's thumb, a clean paper-cut line that opens instantly. He does not flinch. The blood wells up bright red against the grey dust of the workshop. He wipes it on his thigh. This is the blood toll. The stone demands a sacrifice. In the Paleolithic mind, perhaps this mingles the spirit of the maker with the spirit of the tool. The finished object is a masterpiece of the Acheulean industry. It is a hand axe, though the name is a misnomer. It is not for chopping wood, but for processing flesh. It is shaped like a teardrop, heavy at the butt to fit the palm of the hand, tapering to a wicked needle-like point. It is perfectly balanced, the center of gravity sitting comfortably in the grip. The edges are straight, sharp, and symmetrical. It gleams in the low light, a synthesis of geological durability and biological ingenuity. It is the Swiss Army knife of the Pleistocene, a knife, a scraper, a pick, and a weapon all in one. The napper holds it up, inspecting his work. He looks for step fractures, abrupt stops in the flake scars that create friction points. There are none. The surface is a flowing landscape of smooth ripples. He tests the edge against the leather pad. It bites instantly, slicing the tough hide with zero resistance. A grim satisfaction settles over him. He has taken a dull, round cobble found in a river and transformed it into a piece of high-performance technology. He has unlocked the molecular potential of the silica. This stone is now superior to any biological adaptation found in nature. A lion's tooth can rot. This stone will not. A bear's claw can break and takes months to regrow. This stone can be resharpened in seconds. It is an external tooth, a detachable fang that can be replaced, shared, and improved. By shifting the burden of evolution from the body to the tool, the human lineage has bypassed the slow crawl of natural selection. They do not need to wait 1,000,000 years to evolve sharp teeth. They can make them in an afternoon. The napper takes a handful of damp clay and dry grass, mixing them into a stiff paste. He molds this around the broad base of the hand axe, the butt, to create a handle. This will protect his palm from the shock of impact and prevent the sharp edges near the base from cutting his own hand during the violent work of butchery. The clay dries quickly in the cold, wind-blown air, forming a custom grip that fits his hand perfectly. The tool is now an extension of his arm, a prosthetic of lethal intent. He stands up his joints, popping after hours of sitting. He packs the finished hand axe into a pouch of wolfskin, along with 2 smaller flake knives and the obsidian scraper. The workshop floor is a mess of sharp debris, a hazard zone that will remain for thousands of years, a future archaeological site. But he is done with this place. The sun is setting, casting long, bruised shadows across the tundra. The temperature is dropping fast. The wind carries the scent of pine, and faintly the musk of the great herds. The tool is cold, inert matter, but it feels charged with potential energy. It is a hungry object. It was created for a singular purpose, to dismantle a mountain of meat. The napper feels the weight of it at his hip, a reassuring presence. He is no longer just a naked ape shivering in the cold. He is an armed combatant in the war for calories. He joins the rest of the hunting party, who are gathering their spears and torches. The manufacture is complete. The test is about to begin. They move out, leaving the shelter of the cliffs, heading toward the valley floor where the mammoths graze. The geology has been silenced, the physics have been mastered, and the razor's edge has been honed. Now the abstraction of the workshop must meet the bloody reality of the biological world. The barrier of skin awaits the final fortress, protecting the life force of the prey. The architects of stone are marching to war. The woolly mammoth lies on its side, a fallen monument of flesh and fur that rises from the snowy plain like a hairy hillock. It is dead, brought down by a combination of exhaustion, the boggy ground, and the persistent harry of the hunting party, but its defenses remain active, even in death. The animal is a fortress designed by the Ice Age to retain heat and repel attack. Its primary wall is the skin, a biological armor without equal in the animal kingdom. A mat of coarse, reddish-brown guard hairs, some reaching 1 meter in length, covers a dense undercoat of wool that is virtually impenetrable to wind or water. Beneath this tangled forest lies the epidermis, a layer of tough, leathery hide, nearly 3 centimeters thick, reinforced by a grid of collagen fibers. The tribe gathers around the carcass, their breath steaming in the frigid air. They are hungry, their caloric reserves depleted by the chase, and the mountain of food before them is tantalizingly close. Yet they face a physical paradox. They are standing on top of enough energy to fuel them for months, but they cannot access it. their biological tools, their flat teeth and fingernails, are evolutionary jokes against this barrier. A human jaw would dislocate, trying to bite through the hide. Human nails would tear away from the quick. Without the intervention of technology, they are mere spectators at a feast they cannot eat, doomed to starve while sitting on a banquet. The Napper steps forward, the designated keymaster of the vault. He holds the quartzite hand axe he fashioned in the workshop, the clay grip now cold and hard against his palm. He is not just a man with a rock. He is the interface between the tribe's hunger and the mammoth's energy. He approaches the belly of the beast, where the skin is slightly thinner but still formidable. He kneels in the bloody snow, finding a purchase for his knees. He raises the tool high, the stone gleaming dull and grey in the twilight. This is the moment where the abstract physics of the workshop collide with the messy reality of biology. He brings the hand axe down with a forceful swinging arc. The point of the tool strikes the thick mat of hair. A blunt rock would merely bounce off this cushioning, absorbed by the elasticity of the wool. But the hand axe is not blunt. The needle-sharp tip pierces the hair, parting the fibers like a comb, and drives into the leather beneath. The weight of the stone, the heavy butt, adds momentum to the strike, driving the edge deep. There is a sound, a wet, muffled thud, followed by a sharp crunch as the silica edge severs the tough keratin of the skin. The Napper does not chop. He slices. He uses the long, sinuous edge of the biface, soaring back and forth with his shoulder muscles. The microscopic serrations he created with the pressure flaker catch on the collagen fibers, ripping them apart. The sensation transmitted through the tool is one of immense resistance, like cutting through a frozen tire. But the stone holds. The quartzite does not shatter. The edge does not roll. It is harder than the hide. With a grunt of effort, he pulls the tool toward him, extending the cut. The skin part springing open under its own tension, revealing the white treasure beneath. Beneath the skin lies the true prize of the Arctic adaptation, the blubber. A layer of subcutaneous fat, 10 centimeters thick, encases the mammoth's body. It is dense, white and waxy, the ultimate biological battery. This fat was the mammoth's insulation against the -40-degree winter. Now it is the fuel that will keep the humans alive. The smell of it rises instantly, a heavy, oily scent that triggers a primal salivary response in the watching tribe. To a modern nose, it might be overpowering. To the Paleolithic hominid, it smells like safety. It smells like life. The Napper hands the first tool to a waiting clan member and pulls out the smaller obsidian scraper he found in the riverbed. The heavy lifting is done. The breach is made. Now he needs speed. He works to separate the skin from the fat, peeling back the heavy hide like a carpet. The obsidian edge, sharper than the quartzite but more brittle, glides through the connective tissue with terrifying ease. He creates a flap, a window into the interior of the beast. The steam escapes from the warm body cavity, a cloud of vapor that envelops him. He is working inside the animal now, dismantling it from the inside out. Other members of the tribe move in, wielding their own flake tools, sharp shards of flint that were struck from the cores during the reduction process. They are not master craftsmen, but they know how to use a sharp edge. They grab the flaps of skin, pulling them taut to assist the cutters. The work becomes a frenzy of cooperative labor. They must hurry. The smell of the open carcass is a beacon. The wind is carrying the scent of fresh blood downwind toward the rocky outcrops where the lions and hyenas sleep. The humans have opened the vault, but they are not the only thieves in the valley. The Napper targets the massive muscle groups of the flank. He switches back to the heavy hand axe. He drives the tool into the red meat, severing the heavy tendons that attach muscle to bone. The meat is dark, rich in myoglobin, hot and slippery. His hands are coated in blood, making the clay grip slippery, but the shape of the tool prevents it from sliding out of his grasp. The hand axe acts as a wedge, forcing the muscle fibers apart. He carves out a block of meat, the size of a boulder, weighing perhaps 20 kilograms. It is a raw, bloody slab of protein steaming in the cold air. He passes the slab back to the women and children who are waiting with carrying skins. They do not cook it yet. There is no time for fire. Some of them slice off small strips and eat it raw, the warm flesh, providing an instant hit of energy. The blood smears their faces, a stark contrast to the white snow. This is the transfer of energy in its most direct form. The sun grew the grass. The mammoth ate the grass. The human eats the mammoth. The stone tool is the bridge that allows this energy to flow across the species barrier. Without the rock, The flow stops. As the butchery deepens, the hand axe encounters a rib bone. Clack. The sound is jarring. The napper checks the edge. A small chip has flown off, dulling the blade. A biological tooth might have cracked or been pulled out by such an impact. But the stone tool is resilient. He pauses, picking up a small, hard pebble from the ground. Right there, knee-deep in the carcass, he performs a quick resharpening. He strikes the dulled edge, knocking off a row of small flakes, creating a fresh, jagged line. In 10 seconds, the tool is sharp again. He has reset the lifespan of his tooth. The dismantling of the mammoth is a lesson in anatomy and engineering. The humans know exactly where the joints articulate. They use the stone tools to sever the ligaments of the hip, popping the massive femur out of its socket. They work with a grim efficiency, ignoring the gore, focused entirely on the harvest. They are not just taking meat, they are taking everything. The sinew will be used for binding, the fur for clothing, the bones for shelter or fuel. The hand axe is the key that unlocks all these resources. It transforms the animal from an opponent into a raw material depot. The sun has set, and the twilight is fading into the grey gloom of the early night. The temperature plunges. The carcass is cooling, the fat beginning to harden, making the work more difficult. The napper feels the exhaustion in his shoulders. His arm aches from the repetitive shock of impact. But the pile of meat on the sledges of skin is growing. They have harvested tons of calories. They have stolen the winter from the mammoth and claimed it for themselves. The barrier of skin, once an impossible wall, lies in tatters around the skeleton. A low growl from the darkness freezes the group. The eyes of a cave hyena reflect the faint light of the rising moon. The scavenger has arrived. It is huge, with crushing jaws that can snap the bones the humans leave behind. But it hesitates. It sees the group of upright apes covered in blood, holding the sharp, glittering stones in their hands. It smells the confidence of the predators who have already claimed the kill. The humans do not run. They stand their ground, raising their hand axes, hooting and throwing rocks. The stone tool has changed the dynamic of fear. The napper cuts one last prize, the trunk. It is a massive tube of pure muscle, a delicacy. He heaves it onto the pile. The carcass is now a ruin, a ribcage cathedral open to the sky. They have taken the best parts. It is time to leave. They cannot defend the kill against the full pride of lions that will surely come. They gather their spoils, their tools, and their energy. The barrier of skin has been breached, and the tribe will live to see another sunrise. He wipes the blood from his quartzite hand axe with a handful of mammoth fur. The stone is stained dark, the fluid seeping into the microscopic pores of the silica. It has done its work. It has proven the superiority of the artificial edge. He slides it back into his belt. It is heavy, cold, and reassuring. As they trudge back toward their camp, leaving the remains to the night, the napper touches the stone. It is the most valuable object on earth. It is the difference between life and death. The tribe retreats to the shelter of the limestone overhang, a natural cathedral of stone that protects them from the biting wind of the Pleistocene night. They carry the spoils of the war against the mammoth, heavy bleeding slabs of meat wrapped in rough skins. The central hearth is stoked, fed with dry branches and the oily bones of previous kills. The fire is not just a source of heat. It is a transformative technology, the partner of the stone tool. As the flames lick the raw mammoth steaks, the chemistry of the meat changes. Proteins denature, collagen breaks down, and the tough, fibrous muscle becomes tender. The smell of roasting meat fills the cave, a perfume of survival that signals the end of the hunger. The feast begins, but it is not the chaotic tearing of animals. It is a processed meal. The humans use small flake tools, sharp shards of flint struck from the cores to slice the cooked meat into bite-sized morsels. This is the second function of the lithic technology. By cutting the meat before it enters the mouth, they are effectively chewing it outside their bodies. They are outsourcing the mechanical work of digestion to the stone. A wolf must spend hours gnawing and tearing. A human can consume the same amount of calories in minutes. This efficiency is the secret weapon of the genus Homo. The stone tool is the accelerator of metabolism. This reliance on the external tooth has profound biological consequences. Because the stone does the heavy lifting of breaking down food, the human body no longer needs the massive jaw muscles or the heavy grinding teeth of its primate ancestors. Over generations, the human face has retreated, becoming flatter and more delicate. The sagittal crest, The ridge of bone on the skull that anchored the jaw muscles of the apes has vanished. The energy that was once spent on maintaining massive chewing hardware is now freed up. The biological budget is rebalanced, and the surplus energy is diverted to the most expensive organ in the body, the brain. The napper sits by the fire, his hunger sated, examining his quartzite hand axe. The tool is bloodied and greasy, the edge dulled by the impact against the mammoth's ribs. It has served its purpose, but unlike a biological tooth that once broken is gone forever, this tooth can be healed. He picks up a small hammerstone and begins the work of maintenance. Click, click, click. He gently taps the edge, removing the microscopic chips and rolls, exposing fresh, sharp silica. In 5 minutes the tool is rejuvenated. It is immortal in a way that flesh is not. As long as there is stone, there is a sharp edge. A young member of the tribe, a boy who has not yet seen 10 winters, watches the napper with intense fascination. He does not look at the fire, he looks at the hands. He watches the angle of the strike, the rotation of the core, the follow-through. This is the transmission of culture. There is no DNA strand that codes for how to make a hand axe. It must be taught. It must be observed. The stone tool is the first object that requires a lineage of knowledge. It binds the generations together in a chain of pedagogy. The boy picks up a waste flake and mimics the motion cutting the air. The software is being installed in a new mind. The significance of the hand axe extends beyond the butchery. It is the Swiss army knife of the Paleolithic. In the coming days, this same piece of quartzite will be used to scrape the fat from the mammoth hide, preparing it to be cured into leather. It will be used to chop the saplings that will form the frame of a shelter. It will be used to dig for tubers in the frozen ground. It is the universal interface between the human will and the physical environment. Before the tool, the human was subject to the whims of nature. With the tool, the human begins to shape nature to fit the needs of the tribe. The object itself, the teardrop shape, hints at something stirring deep within the hominid consciousness. It is symmetrical. It is balanced. It possesses a beauty that exceeds its utility. A rough, jagged rock would cut meat just as well, yet the napper spent extra time thinning the center, aligning the edges, perfecting the curve. Why? Perhaps the symmetry pleases the eye. Perhaps it signals to others that the maker is skilled, patient, and intelligent, a display of genetic fitness frozen in stone. The hand axe is not just a weapon. It is the first canvas. It is the grandmother of all sculpture, the first time humanity imposed an abstract ideal onto the chaos of matter. Outside the circle of firelight, the night is filled with the sounds of the scavengers fighting over the mammoth remains. The lions and hyenas are powerful, terrifying beasts, rulers of the darkness. But the humans in the cave are no longer paralyzed by fear. They have the fire, and they have the stone. If a predator comes too close, it will be met not with soft skin but with a hail of sharp projectiles and the bite of the hand axe. The balance of power has shifted permanently. The naked ape is no longer naked. He is armored in geology. He has extended his reach, his strength, and his lethality through the manipulation of the earth. The durability of the stone tool is its final legacy. The meat they ate tonight will be digested by morning. The skins they wear will rot in a year. The wood of their spears will decay. Even their own bones will likely turn to dust. But the hand axe is eternal. It is made of silica, the same material as the crust of the planet. It will lie on the floor of the cave for 10,000, 100,000, a million years. It will wait in the silence of the strata, a time capsule of intelligence. Long after this tribe is forgotten, the stone will remain as the undeniable proof that we were here and we were makers. The napper wipes the last of the grease from the tool and wraps it carefully in a piece of hide. He tucks it into his belt, close to his skin. It is a comforting weight. It is his survival. He lies down on the bed of furs, closing his eyes. He does not dream of the future. He does not see the cities of glass and steel that will one day rise from the earth, built by the distant descendants of his kind. He does not see the rockets that will carry the fire to the stars. He sees only the memory of the mammoth falling and the flash of the silica edge in the sun. But the line is drawn. The trajectory is set. The invention of the external tooth has unlocked a door that can never be closed. By manipulating the physical world to overcome biological limitations, humanity has stepped onto the path of the cyborg. We are no longer just biological entities. We are biology plus technology. The smartphone in the modern pocket is just the great-grandchild of the quartzite hand axe in the cave. Both are tools that extend our capabilities processed from the earth, designed to help us survive and connect. The complexity has increased, but the principle remains identical. The fire burns down to embers, casting a soft red glow on the sleeping faces of the tribe. They are small, vulnerable creatures in a world of giants, but they are the most dangerous things on the planet. They have learned to fracture the earth. They have learned to steal the sharpest edges of the cosmos and wield them as their own. The winter will be long, and the ice will return, but they will survive. They have the stone. The wind howls outside, burying the mammoth carcass in drifting snow. The cycle of the Pleistocene continues a brutal rhythm of freeze and thaw. But inside the cave, a new rhythm has begun, the rhythm of the napper, the rhythm of the maker. The stone has been struck, and the echo will ring for 1,000,000 years. The architects of stone have laid the foundation of the human world one flake at a time. The night is dark, but the edge is sharp.